should know. Early life, the foundation of a warrior. Bruce Lee was born on November 27, 1940 in San Francisco, California, but he grew up in Hong Kong. From a very young age he was immersed in the world of martial arts. His father, a famous opera singer, exposed Bruce to the discipline and stage presence that would later influence his performance and fight techniques. But Bruce wasn't just a performer, he was a fighter. Childhood in Hong Kong was tough and young Bruce often found himself in street fights. These experiences, though harsh, shaped his understanding of real combat. Unlike traditional martial arts, which often emphasized form over function, Bruce learned quickly that efficiency and adaptability could save his life. At just 13 years old, Bruce began formal training in Wing Chun under the legendary Ip Man. This early foundation was crucial. Wing Chun taught him precision, economy of movement, and the devastating potential of close-range fighting. But Bruce was never one to accept limitations. While he mastered Wing Chun, he constantly questioned its rules, techniques, and philosophies. This critical approach laid the groundwork for his later innovations, where he would merge multiple martial arts into one unified practical system, Jeet Kune Do. Street fights and real combat lessons. Bruce Lee's reputation as a street fighter was already growing during his teenage years. Stories from Hong Kong describe a young Bruce Lee walking into alleyways or streets where bullies challenged him and consistently winning. But these weren't theatrical displays, they were brutal real-life lessons. Every fight taught him something new: how to read an opponent's movements, how to exploit weaknesses, and most importantly, how to react under pressure. Unlike many traditional martial artists, Bruce realized that techniques learned in a dojo didn't always translate to real combat. He started experimenting with different approaches, understanding that rigidity in technique could be deadly in a street fight. This philosophy of adaptability over tradition would become the core of his later teaching and fight style. It's fascinating to note that Bruce's experiences weren't just physical, they shaped his mental approach to combat. He developed an intuitive sense of timing, distance, and anticipation skills that would make his punches, kicks, and movements nearly impossible to predict. Journey to America, new challenges, new opportunities. In 1959, Bruce Lee moved to the United States to further his education and pursue acting opportunities. But America presented a new set of challenges. Martial arts were not widely recognized and Bruce often faced skepticism. Bruce Lee. His moves weren't just fast, they were revolutionary. Even decades after his passing, fans around the globe still watch his fights in awe, marveling at his speed, precision, and the intensity he brought to every battle. But what is it about Bruce Lee kung fu fights that continues to captivate new generations of martial artists and movie lovers alike? Today we're diving deep into the legacy of the man who didn't just perform martial arts, he transformed them into a cinematic art form that inspires millions. Bruce Lee, more than just a martial artist. Bruce Lee wasn't simply a fighter, he was a philosopher, innovator, and pioneer. From a young age he trained rigorously, blending traditional Chinese martial arts with his own insights, ultimately creating Jeet Kune Do, a style that emphasized efficiency, adaptability, and realism in combat. Unlike many martial artists of his time, Bruce Lee didn't confine himself to rigid techniques. He studied what worked and discarded what didn't, creating a fighting system that was fluid, practical, and incredibly fast. His dedication to martial arts wasn't just about physical prowess, it was about mental discipline. He believed in mastering both the body and mind. For Bruce, martial arts were a reflection of life itself, requiring balance, awareness, and constant self-improvement. This holistic approach is part of what makes his fights so mesmerizing. When you watch him, you're not just seeing punches and kicks, you're witnessing the culmination of decades of study, thought, and experience. The speed that left audiences breathless. One of the most striking aspects of Bruce Lee fights was his speed. People often describe it as almost inhuman, and in many ways it was. His punches could travel faster than the eye could track, his kicks could strike before an opponent could react, and his defensive maneuvers seemed preemptive, almost as if he could anticipate an attack before it even began. Bruce Lee achieved this through a combination of physical conditioning and innovative training techniques. He didn't rely solely on repetition, he incorporated speed drills, explosive strength exercises, and precise timing practices that enhanced his reflexes. His 1-inch punch, for example, became legendary because it demonstrated that power doesn't always require distance. Sometimes the smallest movement executed with precision can have devastating effects. Fans worldwide continue to watch these moments with amazement because speed alone isn't enough. Bruce Lee paired it with control, accuracy, and a deep understanding of human anatomy. His strikes weren't just fast, they were strategic, targeting vital points in the body with surgical precision. Innovation in martial arts cinematography. Bruce Lee's influence wasn't limited to his physical abilities. He revolutionized how martial arts were presented on screen. Before, Bruce fight scenes in movies were often slow, exaggerated, and theatrical. He brought authenticity, intensity, and realism. His choreograph. Bruce Lee inspired and turns them into practical show-stopping moves you can actually perform safely and efficiently. Whether you're brand new to martial arts or you've been training for years and want to add flair and precision to your striking and footwork, this tutorial breaks everything down into progressive stages with drills, timing cues, and troubleshooting tips so you don't waste months guessing what to practice. Read closely, practice deliberately, and by the end you'll have high-impact combos, slipping and parrying tricks, and at least 3 reliable trick moves you can perform cleanly on camera or in the gym. Introduction: why Bruce Lee style tricking works and what to expect from this tutorial. Bruce Lee's greatest gift to modern fighters and performers wasn't an impossible secret technique, it was a philosophy of movement economy, explosive intent, and adaptability. Tricking in the context of this tutorial means adding controlled dynamic elements to your martial arts movement, deceptive footwork, sudden adjustments, and level quick feints that create openings, and acrobatic touches only when they genuinely improve your effectiveness. This tutorial does not promise magic, it promises structure. You'll receive a practical roadmap that moves from foundational mobility and balance to precise drills for slipping, parrying, deceptive kicks, and short, flashy finishing moves that look dramatic while remaining functional. Expect a strong focus on joint health, timing, and repetition, the 3 pillars of reliable tricking. 1. Foundation, breath, posture, and the smallest effective movement. If you want dynamic tricking that looks effortless, start with the invisible basics: breathing and posture. Stand relaxed, feet shoulder width, knees slightly bent, spine neutral, chin tucked. The smallest effective movement is an economy principle. Instead of large telegraphed shifts, use micro adjustments: a 2 to 3 cm slide of the rear foot, a half-inch shoulder dip, a micro twist of the hips to create angles. Train breathing with a simple pattern: inhale through the nose as you prepare, exhale sharply on the strike or trick. This links breath to intention, which increases power and reduces wasted movement. Spend at least 10 minutes each warm-up focusing only on slow, deliberate micro-movements while shadowboxing. This builds an automatic sense of what needs to move and what should stay still when the real speed comes. 2. Mobility and balance drills for all levels. Tricking requires joint-friendly mobility. Work through dynamic hip circles, ankle mobility flows, and controlled knee bends, not deep squats, to strengthen the stabilizers. Perform single-leg balance drills with eyes open for 30 to 60 seconds, then with eyes closed as you progress. Add slow, controlled hip rotations, moving the leading leg in controlled arcs as if tracing a slow crescent kick to build the range needed for trick kicks. Dynamic crawling patterns: bear crawl for 20 to 30 meters or time, develop scapular stability. That's what self-defense truly is, not about fighting but about survival, confidence, and presence of mind. Now imagine adding the sharpness, precision, and adaptability of Bruce Lee into that moment. Combine that with the wild energy and instinct-driven power of Jungle Fury. The result is a set of self-defense combos so fast, efficient, and powerful that Bruce Lee himself would have approved of every single one of them. Bruce Lee's self-defense philosophy wasn't about memorizing hundreds of techniques. It was about simplicity, efficiency, and adaptability, the ability to strike effectively while staying in control of your emotions. He believed in using no way as way and having no limitation as limitation. This means you adapt, evolve, and use whatever works in the moment. The Jungle Fury approach, known for its beast-inspired fighting spirit, shares the same idea. It's about channeling your animal energy, reacting instinctively, and mastering fluid motion. In this video we're going to explore the Jungle Fury self-defense combos Bruce Lee would recommend to everyone, not just martial artists but anyone who wants to learn how to protect themselves with intelligence, grace and speed. The connection between Bruce Lee and Jungle Fury. At first glance, Bruce Lee and Jungle Fury may seem worlds apart, one being a legendary martial artist who changed the course of modern fighting and the other a powerful concept from the Power Rangers universe known for its animal-based combat. But when you look deeper you'll find a perfect synergy between the two. Bruce Lee studied animal movement extensively. He admired how animals moved naturally, fast, efficient and unpredictable. He mimicked the fluidity of the snake, the ferocity of the tiger and the precision of the crane. Jungle Fury fighters also channel animal spirits, the tiger, cheetah, jaguar, wolf and more, to bring instinct and power into combat. This natural flow of energy and movement is exactly what Bruce Lee promoted through Jeet Kune Do. He would say, "Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless like water." That quote isn't just poetic, it's practical. Water adapts to any shape it encounters. It can crash, it can flow, and it can cut through rock over time. Jungle Fury fighters use that same principle, adapting their animal instincts to any combat scenario. So when we talk about self-defense combos Bruce Lee would recommend, we're looking at techniques that are instinctive, adaptable, fast and powerful like the Jungle Fury fighters themselves. 1. The Tiger Fury counterpower with purpose. The first Bruce Lee would love is what we can call the Tiger Fury counter. The tiger embodies strength, dominance and forward energy, exactly what Bruce Lee admired. This starts with a low guard stance, keeping your center balanced and your weight slightly forward, ready to explode into motion. Imagine an attacker throwing a punch or trying to grab your shirt. Instead of retreating, you step diagonally forward, not backward. That's key. Br. What if I told you that one single strike executed in less than a second was powerful enough to define the legacy of Bruce Lee for all time? A strike so explosive, so shocking that it left even the toughest fighters speechless. This wasn't a fancy movie move. It was real. It was raw. And it represented everything Bruce Lee stood for: speed, precision and mastery beyond imagination. Today we're diving deep into the legendary strike that defined Bruce Lee's legacy forever, the move that turned him from a martial artist into a global phenomenon, and the moment that made the world realize Bruce Lee wasn't just another fighter, he was a force of nature. The birth of a legend. Long before Bruce Lee became a household name, he was already obsessed with one thing: efficiency. He believed a true martial artist should end a fight in seconds, not minutes. For Bruce, fighting wasn't about showing off, it was about survival, timing and control. This obsession with speed and precision led him to develop techniques that were terrifyingly effective. And among all his creations, one stood out as the purest expression of his philosophy: the one-inch punch. To the untrained eye it looked impossible. How could a man generate such immense power from a distance of just 1 inch? But to Bruce this was the ultimate symbol of his art, Jeet Kune Do, the art of intercepting. It was about eliminating waste, stripping away the unnecessary and unleashing maximum force with minimum motion. And when people saw it, they didn't just see a punch. They saw the embodiment of human potential. The science behind the strike. What made this punch so extraordinary wasn't just how fast it was how it worked. Bruce Lee combined deep scientific understanding of body mechanics with ruthless practicality. He trained to link every part of his body, from the legs to the hips to the shoulders, in one explosive chain of motion. When he delivered that 1-inch punch, his entire body moved as a single unit. It began from his feet, twisting through his knees and hips, transferring through his core and finally exploding through his arm. The result? Devastating impact delivered in the blink of an eye. Scientists who studied his punch later said that Bruce could generate as much force in 1 inch as an average man could generate in a full swing. It wasn't magic, it was mastery of biomechanics, timing and focus. Every muscle in his body was trained for this. Every tendon, every reflex was tuned for precision. He could channel years of training into that one instant. And that's why his legendary strike wasn't just powerful, it was perfect. The historic demonstration that shocked the world. It was 1967 at the Long Beach International Karate Championships. Thousands gathered to see martial artists from around the world perform. But no one expected what Bruce Lee was about to show them. Standing on stage dressed simply, Bruce invited a volunteer from the crowd, a big strong man, to step forward. He placed his fist just in